It's 1 o'clock, so I'll call the Facilities Committee meeting for Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 to order. There's no public comment period. Let me lead us in a word of prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day, and we're thankful for this community we live in. We ask that you grant us wisdom as we go about doing the business for the Joint Water and Sewer Commission and all of our customers. Thank you for the staff members we have. We ask that you just protect them and their families. And thank you for the hard work they do in maintaining our systems. We're thankful for this country we live in, and we just ask your blessings on it and on our county. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
The first item on the agenda is on the approval section is the minutes from the January 19th, 2022 Facilities Committee meeting.
I'll move to accept as submitted, please.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second. All in favor? Motion carries 3-0. The second item is the contract award, engineering services, pump station 3101, pump station 4001, and pump station 4002 upgrades. Mr. Burris?
Yes, sir. Pump station 3101 is on the south mainland on Southport Parkway. 4001 and 4002 are in the south end of Brunswick. 4002 is the one you can see in the big parking lot behind Tate's and everything right there. 4001's down near King and Prince. These are 3 pump stations that were listed in our master plan as needing electrical improvements for outdated electrical systems. So we'll also be, while we're there, increasing the reliability by redoing the valves and piping and things in that neighborhood, and also installing bypass connections on a couple of these locations. So we went out for engineering design back in November. We had 17 firms in attendance at the pre-proposal teleconference. 6 of those decided to submit a proposal to us. We had a 3-member team score. We had a representative from operations, engineering, and senior leadership. The combined highest scoring team was Kimley Horn and Associates at an overall average score of 91. Their proposal is for all 3 stations combined to be $160,000 for engineering and a 120-day contract. This is being funded out of 3 separate projects so that we can capture the cost for individual pump stations, but lumping them together under one engineering contract has allowed us to save some cost across the 3 of them. So it will be billed against each one based off the design. And then the score sheet is attached on the back for your reference.
I'll offer the motion that Facilities Committee recommend to the full commission award a contract for engineering services to Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. in the amount of $160,000 for upgrades needed for pump station 3101, 4001, and 4002.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion second. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Of the total amount you have listed, the $1,425,000, I think it is.
Yes.
Is the engineering money built into those
Yes,
also?
engineering is included in this.
Okay.
So, I mean, not an exact split, but you kind of look at the percentage split there.
Right, I
In
could,
that
yeah.
160 kind of gives you what you're looking at for each
Okay.
one.
And then what about I didn't see any numbers on the bids from the other firms in terms of dollar.
Those are not provided here. I will say, if you look at the scoring sheet, pricing was a 15-point component, and whoever was the lowest price had the most points, and Kimley Horn got 15 points. So this is
Right.
actually the lowest cost proposal we received. We received, so this one's 160. The highest one was 430, I believe it was. So they also, one thing we really appreciated and that we've had discussions about in our pre-proposal meetings is making sure that you're responsive when we have requests and things of this nature. And one thing they were very upfront about in their proposal was a commitment to communication on our projects. So we thought that was very impressive. And we've worked not with this firm, but with staff members when they've, for this firm, when they've been with other firms. So we're familiar with the staff that we'd be working with.
Right. And the other question I had was the evaluators, is that a rotating group or is it always?
Yes, it's a rotating group.
Okay.
Depending on who the project manager is, the operational group that's involved, so it all goes that way. So it's a rotating every time.
And I know, I read over the proposal, and I saw this very extensive amount of repairs and information that they need to gather to determine that.
That's correct.
Is the cost of materials going to impact this a lot, or?
It'll be a little bit. The electrical material costs have been going up. The biggest issue right now with electrical is just getting the components here. So
And the pumps are going to be an issue?
it shouldn't be a huge issue on pumps here because we're not having to increase pumping capacity at any of these stations.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because I also noticed the dates on these, one of them is very old.
One of these is quite dated, yes, sir.
Yeah, and I know they've been updated several times since then, but this is the necessary, bringing them up to the standards that we expect now of our pump stations.
Yes, sir. And then all of these, of course, being in that master plan, we're still, we're following along with the plan that we got set forth.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these are the next three on the list.
Great. I don't have any more questions.
Will we be bidding the work on these, the construction work on them all at the same time?
That's the hope at this point. Again, trying to get 3 in 1, get a little bit of economy of scales on that and not have to pay one mobilization charge.
So you'd like to have just one firm doing all three?
Particularly 4001 and 4002 because they're a mile from each other.
Yeah.
So if we split any of them out, it would just be 3101 separate because 4001 and 2 make no sense to split out.
Do we have odor control included on any of these pump stations?
Well, not currently. We could always throw that in there in the design process. One of the sites is very tight, so it's going to be difficult to get odor control included there.
Was that 4002?
4002, you've just got the area inside.
I was going to say, I looked at the picture of that, and it's very, very, it's just, the fence is there. There's nothing much to see there.
That's valuable parking area around there that they want to encroach upon.
Right.
Any other questions?
Good, thank you.
Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Next item is change order, pump station 4116, final balancing. Mr. Klein.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Scroll down. Next item. Yes, this first item is essentially to close out the pump station 4116 Rehab and force main upgrade project, also known as the safety complex pump station. And this is a final balance and change order to do that. So we do this so that the money transfers over and gets deducted from the purchase order actually, and it's the proper way to close these projects out. It also brings these projects back for the commission as well, so they're well aware of how the project ended up financially. And in this case, we actually have a net deduction at the end of the project. So it's a net deduct or reducing change order of $15,750. And that's due to a line item of temporary bypassing we did not use in this project. The reason we didn't need to use the temporary bypass is because essentially the new pump station is set right next to the existing one. And then the new force main that this ties into was done by another contractor. A separate project we'll talk about here in a minute. So the project finished up successfully, and this will close the project out and it will come off the capital project forward.
Can I have a motion?
I'll move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission Facilities Committee forward the above described change order number 2 to the full commission for approval.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions?
I will say this is the one that's funded by Glynn County, and so they are reimbursing us for the cost, and then they're going to actually have to dedicate the improvement to us so that we can depreciate the asset. So there'll be, hopefully at the March meeting, dedication documents for the new pump station once it's all paid out.
And where does this pump station pump to? What's the next pump station downstream from this?
This,
107, right?
this will go to 107, so it goes down to Cape Road where Cape Road ties into the spur.
Okay,
Just kind of the Cape Road elevated storage tank, the opposite side of the road.
okay.
If they latch to gravity there.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. Next item is very similar in nature. It's again closing out a capital project number 2007, Bergenwood's offsite force main improvements project. And this is sister project to the one we just spoke about, 4116. This is the force main that 4116 actually ties into. So that project's also completed out. All the work is complete. This will be the final reducing change order to close this project out financially as well. Again, this one ended up a little bit underneath the purchase order amount. Net difference is $24,911 underneath the original contract amount. And the reason for that is largely due to, or it is due to, the extra work items that were not used in this project. Because when we bid this out, we actually bid it including line items for what we call extra work. So things we may encounter. And that way the reason we do that is to go ahead and establish a price with the contractor up front. So if these unforeseens happen, these little small things, we can handle it that way. We already have a set price agreed upon through the contract. So we did not use any of these extra work items in this project here. It netted out as that reduction in price of $15,750.
So your experience tells you need to add these in the contract generally as a measure to be sure that it doesn't cause a problem down the road.
I think so. I think it's a good practice. It takes care of that up front. You've already negotiated pricing. Change orders can be, they're a negotiation on the fly.
Right.
And sometimes that can result, anyway. Pricing is, of course, negotiated at that point too. And this way it's done up front. No surprises. Other than the unforeseens you may come across, you may need to use these line items for.
I think it's an excellent practice.
I think so too.
Works out well. In this case, our project, we didn't have to expand the scope into these extra work orders. So basically, it was no outlay for us, and just project landed on track, on the original plan. So I think it's a good thing. I'd like to offer a motion, Mr. Chairman, to move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission Facilities Committee forward the above described change order number 1 to the full commission for approval.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second. Any other questions? I've got one. Is this the force main that goes through 4,000? Is it 4,007 and 4,000?
No, sir, this is upstream. This is the force main from the public safety complex station we just talked about.
Okay, so the other force main below that is not done yet.
Not done yet, no,
But
sir.
it's being,
The design's done. We haven't bid it yet.
okay, so we've not bid yet. And what's the schedule for that?
We're gonna need more funding, so we'll talk about it at the budget time.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Next item is infrastructure dedication, Oyster Grove. Mr. Klein?
Oops.
Oyster Grove.
Oh, Oyster Grove, I'm sorry, yes. Oh, I wasn't done, was I?
No, not quite.
Sorry.
You already passed the baton too.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, Ms. Jennings. All right, dedication private infrastructure for easements, Oyster Grove subdivision, correct. So this is the end of a private development project. It involves water and sewer assets that are intended to be turned over for public ownership and maintenance. This is the process we go through to officially accept those asset improvements and or easements are often associated with, sometimes, as in this case, a parcel for a pump station. So I was going to pull up. This new subdivision is located on the northwest side of Magnolia Manor on St. Simon's Island. It's actually, well, I can go to GIS if it would help anybody see exactly where this is, or we can just go through the exhibits. There's a GIS snapshot. The lines that are still shown as orange at this point is the new infrastructure. And we hold those as orange until the board accepts those into the public system. Once that happens, they will turn, the sewer will turn green and the water will turn blue. And there is also the attached final plat item I wanted to point out on that is the location of easements and pump stations. Here you'll see this square parcel, 50 by 50 parcel here is where the new pump station actually is located. And then you'll see associated easements that are addressed in the memo that get for the routing of the sewer to that pump station. And then on out, and also access to that pump station as well. And there's a couple more easements that you'll see noted through here as well. They're just part of the extensions of future phases of the subdivision. It's going to go that direction. Nothing too unusual.
Do I have a motion?
I'll do that. I'll make the motion the Facilities Committee forward the above described dedication and easement documents to the full commission for approval and acceptance.
I'll second the motion.
What size is the water line?
Water line inside of this subdivision is 8 inches.
So there's 1,500 feet of 8-inch water line?
Should be reflected on, we did detail it in the costing here, but yes, 1,508 feet, 100 feet of 8-inch water line. Sanitary sewer collection system, and then also the pump station.
And the collection system, what size are the sewer lines?
Those would be 8-inch sewers.
Okay. And the force main for the pump station?
And leaving, I believe, is a 6-inch. 4 or 6-inch, yeah. Yeah, but we-
At 97 gallons a minute, it should only be a 4-inch.
Yeah, didn't include the record journals in here, but I can look with yeah, the flats on it included.
And that pump station is tying into an existing force main.
It goes to gravity.
Goes to
So
gra-
that goes to gravity.
It goes to gravity.
Correct. It's just off exhibit sheet here, but it discharges to a gravity and on magnetic man.
Okay.
And board may remember, 4 meetings ago,
Right.
we accepted a
Easement from Magnolia Manor.
access easement through Magnolia.
Yeah.
to access this.
Okay.
So that ties that all, and that was clean up some relative paperwork.
Is there any development here on these lots?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No homes have been built yet.
Final plat is on the county agenda.
It's on the county agenda.
Oh, it is,
It's
okay.
cleared and ready to go.
So they're ready to go, yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I had expressed to Todd some concerns about, access for the easements, and obviously if there's nothing there, it's not a problem.
Pretty easy to get to right now.
Who's the lucky owner that's going to have their lot right by the lift station there? Do we have any odor control in there or anything?
No odor
Well,
control
let's
at this
go.
point. There'll be a canister.
We put a canister.
There will be, okay.
On the
All right.
vent.
Yeah, this is a pretty small subdivision in terms of the effluent going to that
Right,
collector station.
right.
And the people, when they tie on, do we have the sewer laterals already put in?
Sewer laterals are already stubbed out to each lot.
Okay. But we'll still get capital fees, tap fees from the,
Correct.
okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in
We're glad
favor?
to get the new stuff.
Yeah,
That's all.
all in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Next item is intergovernmental lease agreement with Glynn County, former animal control facility. Ms. Roberts?
We'll hold the paperwork over.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little background information on this. You may recall that the commission granted a request for us to purchase a very large number of materials for the meter project. in order to avoid some supply chain issues and some pricing increases that we anticipated. As a result of that, we are looking for additional storage space. In our search, we came across the former animal control facility. I believe it's Mr. Burrows who suggested we look into that. County was very amenable to that. They said, yes, we would much rather have somebody in that space rather than for it to remain vacant. That way we know that there's maintenance being done with it. We know that the facility's being kept up. So we enlisted the help of Mr. Dorman and his colleague, Mr. Mumford, to come to terms with a lease, an intergovernmental lease for that particular property. I will defer to Mr. Dorman for the details of the lease because we are still working through a couple of those details, so I want to make sure that we get the latest information. So Mr. Dorman, if you'll bring us up to speed.
Sure. As you'll notice in the lease agreement, the rent is still left blank. The rent is supposed to be equal to the estimated monthly utility and general maintenance costs and carrying costs. Mr. Mumford is still working on that at this time. Hopefully, we'll have that before tomorrow's meeting. But it will be consistent with what the monthly utilities, I guess, have been historically. Now, of course, we may mention to him that we don't think that the utilities will be as high if it's not
I wouldn't think so.
fully being utilized.
We're not really washing any dogs or anything like that.
Right, especially the water bill, probably.
Water bill will be lower.
And the sewer bill, I guess, I don't know. Also included in the lease, we're gonna have to pay for insurance on the property and for any maintenance of utility lines or plumbing or sprinkler and things like that. So general maintenance upkeep will be included.
Okay, so essentially, we would go into the facility and we'd pay the cost of the utilities, and then if there's any repairs that have to be made as a course of occupying the building, that's on us.
Yes, sir.
And then there's no additional fees beyond that.
No, sir.
Okay.
Just for clarification, also liability insurance and then any grounds maintenance will take care of those costs as well, whether it's mowing the grass or pest control, things of that nature. Just
Okay, basically, we treat it as our own facility.
That's correct.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Right.
Okay.
And part of the reason we don't like to bring you something that's not finalized yet, but you got meters showing up when?
They're holding deliveries now, so.
Yeah. So
Okay, yeah.
we kind of got to get
Right.
something figured out.
You know, directionally, I'm definitely supportive of it. I would suggest that at the full commission meeting tomorrow that we're gonna need the numbers, because there's gonna be some that are gonna need the numbers more. And so we should fill in the blanks by then, but in my view, I'm quite supportive of this. It's a good solution on our part and the county's part to utilize a facility like this.
And we've suggested, you know, as an alternative, that we actually put the utilities in our name and pay them that way, so that it could be a, you know, our true costs.
Yeah, it simplifies it,
Yes, sir.
not
So,
swapping checks.
we'll see what Mr. Mumford says.
Are they amenable to that or to changing?
It's been recommended
Okay.
or proposed. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah. Seems
Is
more
it-
practical that way.
Is the building large enough to house the meters?
There'll be some connexes out there
Right.
that they're bringing the meters into, obviously, just because that's how they ship them.
The building space actually is not really what we're looking for as far as storage. We're looking for the footprint of the property because the animal control facility itself actually needs some extensive interior renovations as a result of its prior use. So we have had discussions with the county that it's fine for them to continue with those renovations and we can coexist on that property. We just need the outside, and we have some Connex units that we're working with the facility at Pletsy to actually move for us. It's a considerably discounted price just for the cost of actually moving the units. So that will be where we do the majority of the storage on the exterior.
And that'll be secure, the
Yes, sir.
storage?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There's a very large fence, only one entry into the property.
Right.
Locking fence, and as far as access, it's very convenient off of Highway 17, so you can easily get an 18-wheeler in there to make deliveries. So just a lot of the benefits that we need as far as a warehousing
Yeah,
facility.
just down the street from me.
That's right.
In the contract with the meter company,
Yes, sir.
are we supposed to be supplying them a place to store their meters, or are they supposed to be working that out?
Typically, they provide that space, but because of the arrangement that we made in going ahead and pre-purchasing the material, we have agreed agreed to provide that space for them. It was sort of a trade-off of, okay, you can either wait and pay the higher price later, you can go ahead and purchase it now. They're making some expedited arrangements with their other vendors who are also supplying through the project. So there's been a little negotiation back and forth on other parties' parts.
Sounds like a win-win to me all the way through.
We've certainly tried to make it pay.
Absolutely.
But aren't we paying them, I think, aren't we paying them a lump sum for each meter?
Yes, sir.
So if the prices go up, we got a lump sum price anyway for it, don't we?
They were suggesting that they were not going to hold their lump sum price due to, supply chain issues and cost issues through the past, since the contract was bid.
Well, okay, but my question is, should they be splitting the operation and maintenance costs of this facility?
Hopefully those will be minimal, so it won't be a
Yeah.
concern.
Okay, the other question, what's the county's long-term use for this property?
Unknown.
It is, and then there have been a couple of discussions that they've had, whether it be for the fire department for training purposes, for the police department, for their K-9 units. A couple of things have been discussed, but they hadn't really landed on one particular use, and I think that was another reason that they were so willing for us to have it short-term. They gave them a little bit more planning
Yeah.
time for them to make their long-term determination.
Could we use it for a laydown or some kind of yard to help us out too, as we grow?
Could absolutely be a great laydown yard for work up Highway 17.
Yeah.
A lot of grass out there.
A lot of green space.
Because we only got it for 2 years, I think.
That's correct, yes, sir. And we anticipate that we will do that one for the meter project, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Might be a good laydown yard for something, elevated storage tank out there.
Well, I mean, it's just, we don't have anything, we need another space to store materials and stuff like that,
Yes, sir.
and that might be a good location.
We could look at that, yes, sir.
Maybe we ought to discuss that with the county too.
Certainly.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission Facilities Committee forward the full commission the intergovernmental agreement with Glenn County for the lease of the former animal control facility with a recommendation to approve the same.
Second.
Motion second, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. We'll move to the discussion section. Water pollution control plant flows report. Mr. Burris.
Yes, sir. As the first month of the new calendar year, our report looks about half finished again. But flow at Academy Creek under 6 for the month, 5.9 MGD. It was a very dry month, as was this December. So the compounding total there got us under 6. Corresponding increase in the influent concentrations from the fact that the I&I was not as severe in getting in there, but the plant handled it very well, even with the higher influent concentrations. We had pretty good results going out on all parameters, and 97% removal on BOD, almost 97, and just over 96 removal on the TSS. Water usage, we have determined that the main source of water being used down there is the belt filter presses, which we thought were on reuse water. So we are working to get that corrected. The new meters, you can track it by day or down to the hour. Well, we use a whole lot more water Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday than any other time, and that's when we run the belt presses. So
We benefit from the
we
new
figured it out.
technology as
It did
well.
not take long to figure out where all the
That's
water was
great.
going.
Well, what's 10.6 million gallons? What'd that cost us?
What did that
If
cost
we were
us?
having to pay for that water?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
On the reuse you mentioned, that's just water we've already treated.
Yes, effluent water that we.
And we have reuse there
Circulate
at
that
the
through
plant.
filter press.
Are we just now figuring that out?
We thought it was on reuse.
How'd we figure out it wasn't?
We looked at the meter data for the hourly and daily totals, and you know what days you run it,
And you knew something was wrong.
and it's, the bar graph is pretty convenient to prove your point. So,
But Dunbar is not on, we don't have reuse there.
We don't have reuse there.
And
We
they only
also
use-
don't have the new meter there, so
We also have a new meter?
we do not have a new meter at Dunbar yet. So I will say this. I would not 100% trust the water meter usage at Dunbar that we got on this report until we get the new meter installed.
No. Okay. All right. And
But if
ammonia's going down a little bit.
A little
ethanol
bit.
ammonia.
And I'll be honest, it was about half a part lower than that, but we had one day that got a little high. You know how it goes. Extends the whole month. We had one day down around 3. I will say, if you look at the graph on the next page, there are 2 dots on January. They just happen to be on top of each other because the flow was 1/10 of a million, 100,000 gallons different from one year to the next. So there are 2 dots there. You just can't really see them. Dunbar Creek down under 3 for the month. You see that plan is just highly consistent with what you get out on the other side. Was alerted today, this morning, that our on-site operator there, Mr. Whitlow, just passed his Class 1 wastewater licensing exam.
Very good.
That's great.
Very good.
So he'll be in here, I guess, in a couple of months getting recognized, but past that, my understanding was end of last week. So congratulations to Mr. Whitlow. And with 98% removal of BOD and 98.5% on the TSS. So that plant being operated very, very effectively.
Andrew, I don't believe the alkalinity numbers there compared to what they are at Academy Creek.
What do you mean?
Were the 47 at Dunbar and 194 at Academy Creek. I can't believe there's that much difference.
Okay, 194 is the influent at Academy.
Okay. 94 and 105, but,
So I think since you're getting a more complete nitrification, you're consuming more of that alkalinity at Dunbar.
okay. All right.
And at Southport, flow under 400,000 gallons for the month, only 25% of the capacity used down there. Then did have a encouraging meeting last week, or was it earlier this week, with about some potential opportunities for the port to convert some of their septic systems to get on our system. So maybe getting a little more flow from down there in the near future. But 96% BOD and 97% TSS removal down at Southport for the month. It's a good plant we have down there. We just need a few more people using it.
Good report. Now do we want to, let's see. Capital Project Report, Mr. Klein and Mr. Burrows.
Guess I could use the arrows. Maybe I'll give Mr. Burrows a break speaking here for a few minutes.
Oh, gracious.
We'll tag in when appropriate. So these are the projects under construction. You can see a few of these that are in the process of wrapping up, some of our bigger projects. This first project, 702, is Pump Station 4035. Most of the pictures here are showcasing what we call startup, or generally when the contractor invites the owner in, the engineer records there, and it's kind of an official startup of the big pump station. A lot of things are checked out. Generally, there's a few things that you have to work through. And you develop a punch list from here on out to close the project out. But at this point, Pump Station 4035 was deemed substantially complete, and that's a big milestone for the contractor. They're always trying to achieve. And you'll notice some familiar faces in some of the pictures here. You can pull up some of the big guns on the inspection on that middle left picture.
Oh, yeah, look at
You
that.
see the fear in our contractor's eyes in the background. And,
Will be used as blackmail against Steve in the future.
yes. And, but a lot of good features. One thing, I noticed looking at these pictures here is how bright the station is now. If you were in there before, lighting was very dim. The walls were very
Dungy.
aged.
They were a little dirty.
And patina, they call it. And but it looks really good in there. I mean, it looks looks like a very good facility inside now.
Looks like a new facility.
Looks like a new
Totally new.
facility.
It does, yeah.
What was the contract amount of that, for that pump station? Do you remember?
The combined
Ballpark.
2.8,
2.6.
2.6, 2.8 for the two stations.
Okay.
So the pictures you'll notice in the hatch, dual hatch, and that's up on the upper floor. When you walk into the station, this is what you would lower the pumps down to the bottom floor, the dry pit in. You can see the double hatch, but you see the red webbing there. That's a safety feature that we're putting in all of our hatches, is called tiger trap, or it's a safety netting that you can still look and work and do some work through. You would only undo that in Keith, not sure he's tied off at the moment here, so he was checking out the function of it. But you would tie off, the operations staff would tie off before unhooking that webbing. That prevents somebody from falling through an open hatch. Down in the dry pit, you can see the pumps. And the way we did these stations, you've got two larger pumps that carry the peak flows. One is a backup to the other. And then we have a jockey pump installed. The jockey pump is a smaller pump that's going to carry the majority of the flow day to day. So only during those peak times ever would we, are you generally going to see those larger pumps kick on. You have to have them for those peak flows. The station's still got to have the ability to operate in a worst case scenario or a highest flow scenario. But the day-to-day helps your power bill and keeps the wear and tear off those larger pumps if you can run the jockey pump, carry the flow most of the time.
And then we'll turn the larger pumps on once a week or so and just let them take it and run, just to exercise them.
Definitely. Okay, so that was wrapping up, and then also just to mention, I think last Thursday we had pump station, the twin almost of this station, 4036 off B&W Gray Road, was deemed substantially complete last Thursday. So we had again, another startup over there.
Those hatches are very heavy, and if the guy lets go of it and you're on the other side of the building, it will scare you.
Yeah, they look like they're pretty heavy duty.
How's that?
Sounds really similar to a pump coming apart.
Yeah, it just sounds like something explodes.
So substantially complete means just there's punch list items that need to be resolved?
Correct. Definition, there is an industry
Yeah.
definition of the term substantially complete. Essentially what it means is the station is functioning as it was designed, it's doing what it's supposed to, and it's typically then handed over for operational reasons to the owner at that point. Contractor's still involved, like in some cases, in this case as well, they may keep a bypass pump there just in case, to make sure nothing happens for a week or two afterwards.
Right.
But typically substantially complete means it is 95, 99% there. It should be just minor items to address on the punch list, painting, maybe a hiccup here and there.
My simplified one is, can it go overnight without an alarm waking me up?
That's the truth.
Got it, right. So our engineer is the one that makes that decision, the engineer of record.
Correct. Our engineer of record who designed this, they're the ones that verify it was built according to their design.
Right.
And that it functions appropriately, and then it's ready to be turned over. So that comes in an official document that's a memo submitted to us from our engineer of record. They compile all of the, generally at these things, you'll have the pump rep there doing their thing on the pumps. They want to be there. You'll have maybe a SCADA rep there, electrician possibly sometimes.
Right.
It's kind of the construction team is there in case something is needed to be looked at.
Right.
And then the engineer of record takes all those different, all the input and the summary reports from those guys and combines them into one.
Puts their John Hancock on there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The seal of approval,
That's
okay.
it. And they also recommend the substantially complete, and then recommend basically the remaining schedule. Typically, substantially complete, you may have 30 days left in the contract. For the contract to finish grassing, painting, touch
Right.
up, clean up, that kind of thing.
Just various things that don't involve day-to-day operations.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Project 74, Canal Road and Water. This is what we talked about before. This is an ongoing.
You skipped enforcement.
Oh, my bad. Oh, guys.
Pretty
Nope.
big one to skip.
Sorry.
Don't skip
A lot
the
of good
force.
things to talk about on it. 702, that's the force main, which is upstream from the stations we just talked about, 36 and 35. Force mains, it's It's essentially in the ground except for two major pools, two last pools right around the Glencoe Parkway, Area National Guard area. We're just waiting on TV Landmark to get, that's our contractor, drilling contractor, to get their 100-ton machine here from North Carolina. It's currently on the job, waiting for it to free up. They're doing everything they can otherwise until that big machine gets here. Next week, they're finishing the final tie-ins of the force main segments along the route. The force main is not tied into the station yet. That's going to be one of the last things that we do before we turn it around. The water line, I'm happy to say, it's been in service. It's complete as far as this project goes. It now connects the canal crossing area down by the storage place on Canal Road, all the way up to Glencoe and then Harry Dreger's. That loop is now functional and connected. Our customers on Canal are now tied in the new water main. And for the longest time, we had a flushing meter on the end of that water, on a hydrant there at the end of that dead-end 12-inch water main for water quality reasons, keep the water moving down that one, because the storage place was the only customer we had down that end, so they had water quality issues. Good to go now. So now they got redundancy from both directions. There's development happening all up and down Canal now, expansion to the storage place, Dollar General going in up there behind Moondoggies.
Right.
A lot of stuff happening.
So we don't
Our
have,
project-
we don't have to flush anymore then?
No more flushing.
Because it's already looped?
Yes and no.
Yes.
Well,
Always,
Well,
always flush.
Always flush. There we go.
Always.
That's it. That's the correct answer. Timing of our project worked out great for the Dollar General projects going in, because they were gonna have to run a temporary line up to Glencoe Parkway to tie in for water. We beat them, beat their schedule, we got our water line in there first, simple tie-in for them.
Yeah, they only have a pile of dirt so far.
They have brought in a bunch of dirt.
It is an absolute pile.
It is a pile of
They've got
dirt
it
so
there.
far, yeah.
They have brought in a bunch of fill,
Yeah.
so that's well underway. Force main, look forward to that. Now, at the very end of this, very end, we can't turn this flow around until Ogden Lane. Materials will start showing up for Ogden Lane, and we expect that mid-spring, early spring, then they'll be jumping on that section. Finishing
We got
that
the
time.
PVC, we're waiting on the HDP for the force main extension, correct?
Correct.
Todd,
Mostly direct buried force main, and there's a segment underneath a ditch crossing that'll be drilled, and then a 50-foot or less, 48-foot of gravity sewer connection to the receiving manhole there by the railroad tracks.
Todd, on these photographs, I don't see any crushed stone underneath that pipe. Do they put it in before they backfill around that?
If, yes, if soil conditions warrant, they are supposed to bed that in stone.
Well, how are they gonna, when it's up like that one, like the one on the left, I don't understand how they,
Gravity, most definitely all the time, our gravity is always bedded in rock. If they can de-water it and keep it dry enough, with force main typically they can do that, get it in the ground quicker enough. They don't want to always necessarily bed the rock, the force main. Most certainly if you're trying to maintain a grade, like on gravity, yes. Okay, and the water main, this is on Glencoe. Stub out's there, and this is just a picture demonstrating that you let things sit out a while too long, sometimes a bush hog gets a hold of it. I think that's what happened to this cat here. But this is tie-ins, we're still waiting on in-house forces.
Derek's supposed to be out there on that lower section. My understanding is next week. I'll talk to him tomorrow and confirm, but my understanding next week on the lower section. And then he's trying to let it dry up, but we're just gonna have to de-water and put the pipe in the ground. It's never gonna get any drier than it is right now.
Probably not, yeah.
Last time TV Landmark or contractor put these in for us, I mean, the Plexi driveways, is fusing on the connections, flange connections, so they can make the connections. Okay, here's our work going on at Academy Creek.
Top left picture is the obviously not completed auger. There will not be pallets stacked up underneath the auger. That is just temporary support. But the auger, as you see, does not make it all the way to the next structure. Manufacturer, not our contractor, the manufacturer did not quite deliver enough material to get to the new hopper, but working there. You get a profile shot of the filters there. We've been waiting on a PLC for the filter side number 2. Can't be ran right now because of PLC issues. Was notified this morning that the PLC should be here next week, and so we're anticipating the filters being back online in 2 weeks with a new startup. Excuse me. Middle left there is one of what the new RAS connections look like. That pipe will be painted. The red iron will be white. The blue are the valves and flow meters that we have on those lines. And for your information, today, where that excavator is sitting, they are digging because they are making the tie-in on the actual influent connection to that box from the new splitter box. So that area is currently under heavy excavation. And then on the right on the ground, you see those are the panels that go in around the outside of the clarifiers to keep any currents from washing up solids. Those are Stanford Baffles, and so we've got those installed in clarifiers 1 and 2, and they are fixing to install them in clarifiers 5 and 6. Item 5 is ongoing work in the motor control room. We've got 2 new VFDs installed in there. They've got multiple panels in place, new HVAC units. That building's getting a lot of work done to it. And on the right, they're doing some electrical improvements for the RAS pumps between clarifiers 5 and 6. The new splitter box is operating into aeration basin 1 as of yesterday. So you see one pipe into the splitter box, and there's multiple pipes out. One of those is tied in. They're tying in AB3 today and hopefully AB2 tomorrow. The RAS has been interconnected, and then hopefully tomorrow the mixed liquor will be interconnected, and by end of day tomorrow, if everything goes smoothly, we'll actually have one plant instead of 2 plants that are located right beside one another. So,
The return sludge piping, you said it's gonna be painted white?
that's what they've been painting most of the piping.
Don't we have color coding for
They
different?
will paint it whatever the color code is. I guess RAS would be brown.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm a stickler for stencil it with the flow direction and label what it is as well. So they get all that done.
And what's the schedule on the bar screens now? And
Delivery date until we're told otherwise again is the last week of March. So approximately, I think it's the 29th is the estimated delivery date. So we'll probably find out on the 27th it's been delayed again, because that's been the habit the previous 3 times.
Yeah.
Delivery is in March, and then assuming they show up, we should have the screens operating by mid-May, and then they can finish up the odor control improvements around the screens. They're going to be very quickly running out of things to do until the screens show up.
Do we know if the screens are in production cycle?
To my knowledge, well, as of the January meeting that we had, they had not begun production on them yet. Apparently they were waiting on some of the gearbox components before they even began production on them. We were joking the other day that if we could have got the plans for them, we could have probably welded them ourselves by now. But our contractor shares our frustration because he's ready to be done.
Sure.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. It's an untenable position, but that we don't have a choice. It's the condition of the supply chain that we're in today.
Okay. Pump station 4105 basin expansion, and this is the 4036 basin CIPP liners. We like sharing these as they're going along. Contractor, these lines are, have been completed since our last meeting, but now our contractor is just waiting for the contractor pump station 4036 to demobilize so they can finish the last segments that they're including, or that we included as part of this project. We spoke a little bit about that at last meeting. And this is just again showing some before and after. And these are when you look at the left and the right pictures, that's the same location in the pipe. And you can see how nicely, generally that'll make the new pipe, the new liner inside. Middle pictures, typical roots, intrusion, and then again, that's the pipe afterwards, the liner. And if you notice on that middle right picture, just a little tidbit of information here, you see some writing, that's the footage of the liner. Contractor uses that, and so you can see, well, man, how'd they get on the inside of the liner, 250 foot down the line? That sock, if you remember, used to be inverted, it used to be inside out.
Right.
So that's when it was written at the factory for the limb, that's how they know when they're inserting where they're at. It's one of the ways they track. And also, if you look, you'll see the spray nozzle. So typically anytime somebody's hammering, or we're hammering, or a contractor's hammering, they're following a jetter nozzle. That jetter nozzle is cleaning that pipe, and that hammer's following behind it. Also, that jetter nozzle keeps most of the water ahead of the hammer and pulls it out. And then there'd be a vac on and sucking the water out of the manhole as well.
Can I ask you, where the roots are on the middle picture on the left there, do they cut those out first?
They will cut those out.
Right. And what about them growing back into the new liner?
If there's no way, generally the reason the roots are there is because they found a way in.
Into the pipe?
So either through a joint that's separated, those roots, they can sense that nutrient-rich water in there, and they go for it. Cracks, that type of thing, they'll find a way. If there's no way in, generally the roots, they'll grow around the pipe, maybe at the most, but they can't get to.
They're not going to intrude where
Right.
there's no opening, okay.
Correct, and these liners are one continuous pipe all the way through, no joints.
Right.
So
So they can seek their success elsewhere.
they will, yes, sir, they'll be very disappointed to go elsewhere.
Well, generally, what's gonna happen is, once the pipe is cured, the source of the nutrients has been eliminated.
Right.
So the roots will then just absorb what's left, and they'll quit growing into the area that's
Right.
nutrient-rich.
Right.
It's no longer there.
Makes sense?
Todd, on the, all of this rehab we're doing, is it being categorized in a new system, GIS system?
Absolutely.
And so we're pulling up the videos of all the existing lines.
Correct.
Are we gonna keep the old lines too, so we have a history of everything?
As far as GIS goes, once a pipe is lined, that's noted in GIS that it is now lined, and it also resets the risk of failure numbers that we use.
Does the carrier pipe for the lining though, we know it from the old videos?
Right, it'll still be listed as, say, on these, a 24-inch VCP.
Okay.
But it'll just say lined,
Okay.
and the line date was, February 1st.
And we'll have a video of the line date,
Right.
so 10 years from now, we can pull it up if
That's
we're having
correct.
problems and just see.
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah. We got so much storage these days, it's, we'll have videos for.
I would imagine.
I
yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
So, bottom picture on the left, that is not my wife's coffee leaking through the pipe. She likes cream in her coffee.
Okay.
That is sand leaking through a hole,
Wow.
and that's never a good sign because the sand is coming from somewhere.
Sand is a scary thing in a sewer line.
We like sand to stay where it's supposed to be underneath roadways. And people's yards. So when you see the sand milking in like that, that means there's a void being created somewhere outside of the pipe. And again, that's the exact same location to the right, after lining, post-lining.
Question on the CIPP, what's the life expectancy of,
What the manufacturers will tell you is at least 50 years.
okay, but it hasn't been in
Hadn't been in service for 50 years
50
yet.
years. What about our oldest installation of this? Is it, what kind of time frame roughly?
Our oldest is probably 10 to 15 years now.
I think we probably got CIPD liner, even older than that. I know the city had been doing it, and Bighorn County before, or, we can check on that and see. We can check it.
Yeah, I'm just curious whether, and we will, from time to time, may look at that to see whether it's holding okay, or if there's any,
We, as part of our standard televising program as we're going around, we'll televise the lines that have been lined in the past. And it's nice when you pull one up, it still looks the exact same as it did the day the liner went in. Maybe a stain here or there because the water got held up for whatever reason,
Right.
it stained the liner, but still looks brand new.
So not only is this process much less expensive and disruptive, but it's also proven at this point and very effective, so, good.
So far, so good, as long as they've been doing it, yeah, I would imagine since the eighties, I imagine, nineties probably. Trying to think of how long they've been doing it, that's some good research.
I'm old, so it seems like yesterday to me, so.
So, and probably been doing it years before that over in Europe, that's how everything else.
Everything starts in
Yeah,
Europe.
everything starts.
Is that right?
That's what they claim. So, next group of pipes, more CLPP here. So this is in C-palms, and I'll let Mr. Burrows talk on this if he likes, but before and afters from left to right.
I think the main thing to show here, you look at the middle two pictures, there's a hole obviously in that pipe where you see water spraying in on the sort of, what is that, 10 o'clock position?
Right.
And then you also see some of that tuberculation down. Now, these are very deep ductile iron lines that are very brittle. So we try to clean them as best we can, but you don't want to get too frisky with that thing and cause a pipe collapse. So you look on the right there and you'll see that liner, it's got some wrinkles on the side because some of that tuberculation didn't come off. The main thing is there's nothing in the flow line that's preventing the flow from going out. So rather than ending up having to go in there and dig down, these lines in Sea Palms West are 16, 18 feet deep. And it's just, we're okay with some slight imperfections in the perfect circle of the pipe as long as the pipe's still flowing down in these circumstances, because we got some quotes for bursting one of these sections. A 300-foot section was going to be almost $300,000 to pipe burst this thing.
When was Sea Palms West constructed?
Mid-'80s?
72,
Okay.
71, 72, 73.
And most of the lines ductile iron, or are they just ductile iron when they're real deep?
The deep ones, that used to be the standard.
Yeah.
pretty much.
The deep trunks are,
I think anything over 12 foot, I think it might have been at the time, was ductile was what was specified.
I'm crossing my fingers. They're supposed to be finished up. They're coming in next week. They got 9 more segments on this project they got to get done, so that'll take about a week and a half to get done. So theoretically, by the end of the month or right at the first week of March there, we'll be done. But I'm hoping at the March meeting to bring you, we'll actually show you video because we have found the mother lode of I&I in one of these lines.
Around the what?
We found the mother lode of I&I. There's about 8 holes that are 2 to 4 inches just spraying water in this thing.
Really?
In Sea Palms West?
In Sea Palms West. And so they're supposed to put a liner in that Monday. That's the first line they're going to do when they get here because it needs to be done really bad. We'll get to it in a minute. Our cleaning and televising contractor doing, they sent us a picture the other day and like, man, you got a problem out here. This thing's leaking bad. We sent them back the photos of that one. We're fine. Don't worry.
Small stuff. We're gonna check the flow rates at 2032 once it's done too, aren't we?
If the video is any indication, you might be able to notice that at Dunbar.
You might be able to
When we
see
get that one line lined.
This is, top left picture, I think it is. Just wanted to point this out. You see the kind of shinier, slicker looking, invert of that right there? Well, that pipe is still there in pretty good shape. The reason is because that's the water line. Anything that stays underneath the water line generally stays in good shape. The stuff above the water line, or either gets wetted dry in the cycle. And everything above is what really takes the abuse due to the environment and the way that the corrosive environment forms in there. So it's kind of interesting to see sometimes at the bottom of the pipe, it'll look great.
There are 2 segments right outside the pump station, and we televised, they look brand new. Look absolutely brand new because they stay submerged all the time.
So if you were putting deep pipes in now, you wouldn't use the same materials, is that
No, sir.
correct?
If I was doing this now, I'd have put 2 pump stations at the back of this thing and pumped it to the front.
And not gonna suit the-
Before I'd put in 20-foot deep sewer over there. That's just me.
Yeah,
I got it.
yeah.
And maybe cut a secondary road in there somewhere so you could reroute some traffic.
Got it.
When that was developed years ago, I was early when I worked for Georgia Power, and it was very swampy at the time. And some places, when we had a full moon tide, the dirt roads in there flooded. And that was during the construction, summer of '73. So it was, a huge challenge to build that facility, particularly burying lines of 12 to 18 feet. I think we have one that's 20 feet right near Frederica Road. So it was just a choice made at the time, you know, instead of having pump stations to go very deep. And it was a big deal to go that deep.
I don't know that it's the deepest neighborhood sewer on the island, but
It might be.
probably is.
Probably.
I mean, there's some deeper lines at the plant, obviously, but other than that,
Yeah.
it's as deep as it gets out there.
Yeah, it's a good one. Very good project, much needed. The galvanized project, those guys are constantly working on that. You can see some more examples of the materials that they're pulling out of the ground, replacing with modern materials. One of these in the bottom right was taken just down the road here, Mortgage Cleaners, right in front of the cleaners there. And a little bit at a time, getting that galvanized out of the ground. I've got some great examples, I meant to bring one, the cross sections of galvanized pipe, the tuberculation inside. It's pretty interesting to look at.
At the next meeting, can you give us a chart that tells us the amount of galvanized line that we replaced since we started this project?
Sure.
And how much we did last year, the year before, and per year?
I've got all that. We've got about 1.8 miles replaced so far.
And how many do we have to replace? Do we
According to
think?
GIS, it's only about 10 miles. According to water distribution, it's 35 miles.
Now, on the sewer rehab, can we also know the number of, the linear feet that we've lined for last year and this year?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay. And feeder replacements, and Ms. Roberts spoke a little bit about this before, and I know covered some pictures here, but it's some good shots. The crews out there with M&E out there putting in the new installs, and so they modify the existing lids in some cases to put their antennas. And I'm amazed at how many they knock out a day, honestly. At the
We do about
installs.
75 a day
Yeah,
on
it's
the
pretty,
installs.
pretty
That's a lot.
staggering progress.
So we're up over 6,000 now.
Yeah.
6,000 is a good round number because it's 20% of the system.
And is it consistently the same crew that's doing them?
They got 4 crews doing it.
Really? Wow. I hope for the fully accessible ones and not the tough ones. Huh? Okay.
Yep. That's going away. Okay, priority basin clean and CCTV, again, this is what systems pumping and maintenance, the cleaning crews and CCTV crews do to go out and assess the system. And this tees up for the next round of lining projects. We're out there hunting, or they're out there hunting for the most dire situations, 4s and 5s, that type of thing, that are gonna get grouped into the next batch of lines.
Where are these lines located? They're on St. Simon's. Where are they? Do you know?
Let's see, the top 2 pictures are all in Altama, or near, off the side streets of Altama. They're in the 4021 basin.
I thought it was 2107. Am I looking at the wrong sheet?
We're on
Page 9.
Page 9.
It says 2107.
That's the project number.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Excuse me.
That Suburban is,
That's Suburban Drive right there by the,
That sign,
Okay.
north of Sonic.
eye doctor.
and in 2005, that's down there, what's that neighborhood called?
Okay.
Devonwood or whatever it is in there.
Yep.
2008 Shore Rush Trail, that's up there near Black Banks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I had a pump station, 2008's in Black Banks, so that one I can remember.
Okay, and that's the end of the picture report. As normal, we have included the project detail in the spreadsheet. And then also at the very end, our Gantt chart of schedules and the EVA. Combined progress.
No pictures on this, but we did have a kickoff meeting for the Dunbar Rehab last Tuesday. Survey is supposed to begin this week. We met on site. That's a design build, so contractor, engineer, and us all at the same time. Spent a good 2 hours out there just going through wants and changes needed out there so we can get this 30% taken care of and get a GMP. That's due mid-May. So we should have that total price for what the upgrades will be by mid-May. And of course, we should be getting indications of that along the way. So surveying and soil borings are supposed to occur this week.
That's good. Do we know anything about DOT work that may impact the entrance from Sea Island Road?
No, sir, that section from Sea Island Road is not Georgia DOT. That's county.
Understood, but the Dunbar
The
Bridge.
Bridge, right.
in the approach to the bridge from the east, I was thinking, depending on how long that approach is based on the speed limit.
Have not had that conversation. That's a good one we need to have.
Yeah, I'm sure they're doing engineering now because there's been a lot of survey flags on the right of way out there.
They did have a coordination meeting of sorts. DOT did sponsor that, and that's been, I want to say it was back in September, October. They actually called us back individually, provided some information to them. They said it all depended on the limits of the project. There's a lot of criteria that fall into their projects, the limits of it and all this and that. They talk about everything from EVO landing effects and how proximity to the project, and then we brought up the fact of, we call it look at your line, I'm not sure if that's official, that's what we always call it. Charlie knocked into that. The rear entrance to Dunbar Creek. And so we did tell them, look, if there's any way to incorporate some kind of improvement or whatever in the project, I think will work with us. But that's been some time. We'll reach back out to them and see where they stand with that project. I think it's kind of come down to, it's got to get done. I think it's been kicked down the road a few times. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
On the list of projects, where we have the numbers and everything, could we, at the end, could we total up those numbers on page 2 at the bottom? Could we have on future reports?
There's a total on that sheet. It must have not got printed.
Yeah, normally we do. Yeah.
Yeah, we usually have the,
Now, you might have one on that follow-up sheet over there, but those numbers don't mean as much to me as this one where it's describing them.
Yeah, normally we have the totals. Apologize. Just got cut off there. We'll make sure they're included.
Okay. That's a good report. Any other questions or comments?
On the engineering side, the North Mainland water loops and the pump station 4044 rehab that we awarded engineering for. We've got the 60% for 4044, and we're getting the 60% on the water loops this week. So those are both tracking along as expected.
And when's ARCO going to get started?
I think the notice to proceed's the 9th of March. We allowed them to get materials ordered and get an estimated date for delivery before we set the notice.
We didn't have to get any easements, did we?
No,
Okay.
not have to get any easements.
No easements on that one.
Any other questions,
None for me.
comments?
I'm all good. Oh, just one, on our SPLOST projects for North Mainland, we're about 11% uncommitted, which tells me we're about 89% done. I think that's great progress, given the challenges we've had on the pipe, getting it there. So it's very encouraging that we made a last turn on that project and be able to close that out this spring.
That should be closed out mid-spring, barring some unforeseens.
Right. And allow us to move on to the next big list.
Okay. We'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.